Hey, welcome to the second part of this Creating a Family video on how to choose an adoption agency. I'm Dawn Davenport, the director of Creating a Family. For more information on this subject, you can go to our website and look on under adoption resources on our adoption agency how to choose page, and we'll include a lot of links, including a link to our hour-long radio show done February 17th, 2010 on this subject. In the second part, we're going to be talking about the nitty-gritty of how to actually find an agency. We divide it into three steps. The first step is going to try to winnow down the entire universe of U.S. agencies or that U.S. adoption agencies into a reasonable number for you to do more research on. One of the first choices you're going to have to make at this first step is whether you want to use a national or a local agency. There are some advantages to using a local agency. For some people, sitting down and having a face-to-face conversation is very important. Another advantage with a local agency is that the person who will be doing your home study, that person is usually a social worker, the social worker will actually usually be an employee or work very often with your specific placing agency. If you choose an agency that's not in your state, you will likely have to hire a different agency in your state to perform your home study. And there are some advantages to having a close affiliation between the home study provider and that social worker and the placing agency. Another advantage to a local agency is for pre-adoption education. You can do more group things as well as post-adoption services. Obviously, it would be easier to get counseling or to attend a culture camp or a mommy and me class or something like that if you actually live nearby. However, in my book, experience trumps all, so you may end up, based on that factor alone, deciding on an agency that is not located nearby. That's a great segue into experience. What we mean by experience is the number of years they've been in operation, as well as the number of children they place. And when you look at number of children, you would preferably looking, if you're international, you're going to look at number of kids specifically placed from that country, or if domestically, specifically number of kids either through foster care or domestic newborn. Another thing you want to look at this first cut is whether or not they offer and stress pre-adoption education. Very important. You're looking for an agency that considers it important. You're also going to look for post-adoption services. The more they offer, the better for you in case you need them, and you need to ask about those at this step. And last but not least is humanitarian aid. I really think that adoption agencies and that you should use are those agencies that give back. If they're placing a child from a specific country, I want to see that they are offering humanitarian aid in that country. Also, even domestically, I'd like to see agencies and see what services they provide to expectant moms, especially expectant moms who decide to parent. Now, the $64 million question is, how do you get this type of information on agencies in a relatively efficient manner at this stage? Your first stop is going to be the Child Welfare Information Gateway, which is a governmental organization, U.S. government organization, and you can find them at childwelfare.gov. And there's two things you can find there for this stage, and one is a list of all adoption agencies in your state, and another is a list of agencies that place through a specific from children from a specific country, and we include links to both those places on the child welfare site. You won't find other information there. We've attempted to help at Creating a Family. We have a service provider page where we have asked our sponsors to provide information on all of the above criteria that we mentioned, and we have it in a searchable database. But note that I said that this is for our sponsors. It is, meaning of course that it's not the entire universe of agencies that you may want to look at. And while I think it's quite important that agencies support nonprofits who have a mission such as ours for education and support, you have to decide on your own how important that is. So it's possible that it's not as important to you, so you may need to look elsewhere. Now, we've finished the first step, and hopefully at this point you have a much smaller list of agencies you're going to consider, because in the second step you're going to actually interview the agencies. We include a list of questions to ask agencies on our adoption agency how to choose page. You can print that list off, Do not, however, email the list, because at this point what I want you to do is have an actual conversation, either face-to-face or over the phone, with the agency. And one of the things you're going to be getting out of this conversation is kind of a gut feel for whether or not you would want to work for this agency, work with this agency. All right, that's the second step. Now, to the third step. Hopefully at this point you have a much smaller list of agencies, because now you're going to be doing the background check. The first thing you're going to check is the licensing status of your agency. Two places it could be licensed. One, by most states license all agencies within their state. We include a link to how to find a licensing board of your state. We include that link on our site. If the agency is required to be licensed by the country, we've covered that in the first part of this video, and I refer you to that. Now, and also if it is a Hague, if it's an international adoption, it may have to be accredited by Hague. Again, we covered that in the first part of this video. All right, now let's talk about complaints. Another thing you're going to be doing at this stage is determining if there have been complaints. There's two types of complaints. There are the official complaints, but there's also the all-important kind of word-of-mouth complaint. I want you to look at both. Under the official complaints, you're going to go to the licensing boards that I mentioned just a minute ago, and you're going to ask them when you talk to them about whether any complaints have been filed. The next step is you're going to, it may sound lame, but a lot of people file complaints with the Better Business Bureau. We've included a link on our site to how to find the Better Business Bureau in all the cities where the agency has offices. Some people also file complaints with the Attorney General of your state. We've included a link to help you find out contact information for your Attorney General. There is also a Hague Complaint Registry. If your agency is Hague accredited, you can find that at the State Department site, adoption.state.gov. Now, as to word of mouth, my favorite resource for that is the Adoption Agency Research Yahoo group. We include a link. I'm getting sick of hearing that, aren't you? Putting a link on our page to that. If you are using their other online forums as well, which are great, just make sure that you're allowed to mention agencies on the forum before you do. All right, second to last thing I want you to do at this stage is get references. You're going to get references from the agency, and you're going to get independent references. Make sure you ask for somebody who is in your situation, looking for the type of child you're looking for. In other words, if you are a single woman looking to adopt a domestic newborn, you're going to want to ask for those type of references from single women from your agency. If you can also go on to any of the support group websites that I mentioned, if it's allowed in the forum rules, and ask for references that are not recommended by your agency, and I recommend you do that as well. The last thing I want you to do at this step, the final cut, is to compare cost. The key here is to make sure you're comparing apples to apples by asking for an itemized list of what is included in the lump sum costs that are usually adoption costs are stated in, and then you can compare best to see if which agency is actually more expensive. I hope this has been helpful for you today, both videos, and we recommend again that you go to our site to get more information. Thanks for joining us.